Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, I want to say thank you for the unwavering support that you continue to render to our channel. May God bless you. In case you are watching us for the first time, allow me on the same breath to request you to hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell and like our videos so that anytime we do a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. We are in the middle of a political quagmire and we don't know how soon we are going to get out of it. Because Raila Odinga seems so much determined that this time round he must regain his stolen victory. But we have a president who is already in State House who is also determined, though ashamed and humiliated because he cannot open the server, but also determined that he cannot relinquish his position. But did you know that anytime we have a bungled election, there are always signs and symptoms before these elections are stolen? And many a times, leaders and their followers ignore these very bold signs, and they go into an election that is already open. There are every indication that the elections are going to be stolen. Raila Odinga has given a red alert that we must not ignore. But before we get to the red alert that Raila has given, I want to give you a chronological event of how we have always ignored the red alerts, the signs and symptoms, and gotten into an election that is already predetermined. It is like getting into a trap. For those of you who witnessed 2007 elections, the red alert came from none other than the late Samuel Kivuitu, who was the chairman of the ECK, Electoral Commission of Kenya. Because at some point when there was a lot of tension, Kivuitu came up and said that someone is cooking figures. Because Raila strongholds had already delivered all their results. Just a few were remaining. But intentionally, Kibaki's strongholds were withheld. Places like Tharaka-Nithi. That is why we always have the famous Tharaka-Nithi. Georgia. All the places where they knew that Kibaki had a lot of votes were withheld so that they could see how much does Raila have so that we top up. So with that statement that someone is cooking figures, none other than the ECK, it is like Chebukati telling you that someone is cooking figures. That was a red alert. And Kenyans were not supposed to accept that election. No wonder Kenya plunged into a post-election violence, because the then Raila Odinga and William Samoei Ruto decided that they were not going to accept it. That was the first red alert. In fact, let me just tell you, later, when Samuel Kivuitu was asked whether he believed Kibaki won fairly, he said, I acted out of pressure and I don't know whether Kibaki won. But you see, when he was saying this, there were Kenyans who had already lost their lives. We had people who had been displaced. But thank God, that is the reason why we came with reforms, and even the name of this ECK was changed to Independent Electoral Commission of Kenya, IEBC, and I wonder whether it is independent. In 2017, the IT guru who was manning the servers was assassinated, and the BBC reports that Kenyan election official Chris Musando tortured to death. This is the guy who came on national TV and explained how it was going to be very much impossible to rig any elections. He just gave one statement. He appeared just once on national TV, and these people said, no, this guy must be cleared. And they killed Musando. That was the red alert in the 2017 elections. Kenyans were not supposed to go for an election after Musando was dead. This was the guy who had indicated that you could not rig an election because as an IT guru, he had made sure that he had mechanisms to ensure that there was no rigging. And Kenyans blindly went into an election after the death of Chris Musando. May God rest his soul in peace. You know what happened? That election was rigged, and Maraga later confirmed our fears. Why? We ignored a red alert, a sign boldly written on the wall that we are going to rig this election. And that happened. In 2022, there was another red alert. There was another sign and symptom when the 3 Venezuelans were caught at the JKIA. This is what was reported by the international media, that Kenya 2022 election, 3 Venezuelans arrested with electoral materials causing confusion. They were not just arrested, they were arrested with election materials. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't get serious. 3 foreigners have been caught at the JKIA airport, and the then DCI boss, George Kinoti, did forensic audits and indicated that these people had election materials. How do you even go for an election when some people have been caught red-handed? Don't you think we wasted another moment? That is the point. We were supposed to say we are not going for an election. But we went into that election, see where we are now. We are now trying to chase after the shadows, but I'm glad that Raila has decided he now knows what is in the server. That is the red alert I'm talking about. Now I want you to look. There is the current red alert that I want us to look at. Yesterday, Raila Amolo Odinga called a press conference after they had their meeting with the Azimio fraternity. Let us read what Raila said. We understand that there are some people trying to tamper with the servers. They need to know that we are watching them. We know it, and that is why we are talking about a forensic audit by experts so that the truth can come out. That statement is being ignored, ladies and gentlemen, but that is the red alert that I'm talking about. We have an already bungled election. Raila has already released a whistleblower's result saying that he won by 8 million votes against Ruto's 5 million votes. The other day, Smartmatic applied to be allowed to operate in Kenya, and he has been allowed. And you know the history of Smartmatic. This company has bungled elections in over 40 states, 40 countries in the world. They later came to apologize. Now Raila is telling us that we have Smartmatic already in the country. Our elections was bungled by these 3 Venezuelans, Jose Camargo and the team. Now they are back at it, and Raila is warning that someone is tampering with the figures. Let us not take those words lightly. Let us treat those statements with the seriousness that they deserve. Because before we know it, Raila will be invited for a function where they are going to open the servers. Ruto will be very happy because do you know what they will be spreading? You wanted us to open the server, now come. Now it will be so humiliating when the figures in the servers do not reflect what Raila has. And do you know what they will say? They will start saying that Raila only wants chaos. They will say, wewe mzee, ulikuwa unataka server tumekufungulia. You wanted us to open the server. Here it is. And that's why I'm saying that this is an already red alert, ladies and gentlemen, that we need to pick up from there so that we don't allow, because otherwise this is the only hope that Raila Amolo has. This is the only hope that Kenyans have to understand who won. Personally, from where I sit, I want to know who won these elections. I have always indicated that if Raila is defeated, first of all, he will have to apologize for wasting our time. If the servers truly, without being tampered with, truly reflects that William Ruto won. And if William Ruto lost, I think it should be banned from ever contesting in any election, because people have lost blood, have lost their lives, property, and it's he has really put people in an unnecessary quagmire that we needed to have not even found ourselves. And if the servers are found to be in favor of Raila Odinga. The USA, the European Union should leave us alone. They should even apologize to us. Listen to what Smartmatic was saying when these things came up. Smartmatic says, I want to read, Smartmatic says, allowing Raila full server access is a violation of intellectual property rights. Already, they are barring Raila from accessing the server. In the interest of Kenyans, Smartmatic cannot tell us that we cannot access. If anything, we are the people who voted. If anything, we are the people who want to know who won. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my submission that there is already bold writings on the wall that something is cooking. If you hear Raila being invited for opening of the server, know that they have tampered with it. I don't know what you think, but that is my take.